In the previous videos, we mentioned about various types of standard form of contract available in Malaysia. Most of these standard form of contract are applicable for the typical construction project. There are two types of standard form of contract which are specially designed for the turnkey project as well as the design and build projects. Now let us discuss about different types of construction projects. We have the traditional construction project, we have the design and build project, and we also have the turnkey project. First, let us look at the traditional construction project. It basically consists of three main stages. The first one, it will be the design stage. Second, it will be the bidding stage. And the third one, it will be the construction stage. At the design stage, the owner or the employer will work together with professionals such as the architects, engineers, and quantity surveyor to work out the design of the building or the infrastructures. Architect will take charge of the aesthetic part. Engineers will take part on the structural part, and the quantity surveyor will do the quantity parts. At this stage, sound viable design will have been confirmed, and the tender document will have been drafted. Next, we enter the bidding stage. This is when the tender is being called. Several potential contractors will bid for the tender based on the details and informations provided as produced by the architect, engineers, and quantity surveyors. The contractor will look into the details, do some pre-planning for the project, and quote for a price, submitting to the employer to bid for the project. Then the employer will select a contractor which deemed to be competent with the price acceptable and award the project to the selected contractors. This brings us to the third stage, which is the construction stage. It is when the actual constructions of the buildings has been carried out by the contractors who won the tender. The construction works will have to work in accordance to the design as per produced by the architects and engineers. The contractor is responsible to make all the necessary arrangements in order to ensure smooth implementations and completions of the construction project. Throughout the construction period, the contractors will need to work together with the architect, engineers, and quantity surveyor in terms of the contract administrations, technical supervisions, as well as the claim for the construction works. The diagram here shows a relationship between the members within the traditional contract. First, we have the employer. The employer appoints the professionals to do the professional works. This includes the architect, the engineer, and the quantity surveyors. Architect produce the architectural design. Engineers produce the engineering plans. And quantity surveyor work out the BQ. All these information will be compiled in the tender document for the potential contractors to bid for the project. Once a contractor is being selected, a contract or agreement will be made between the employer and the contractor. The employer will need to pay for the work done by the contractor, and the contractor will need to build the structures in accordance to the design specifications and ultimately deliver to the employer with good functionality up to the intended standard as stipulated within the contract document. Now, the contractors who won the award will typically subdivide the construction works and get the subcontractors to help him to complete the entire construction works. As the construction works are rather complex, it involves many stages as well as the components and the expertise. There are a lot of works need to be subbed to the other contractors. This subcontractor will be fully under the responsibility of the main contractor, and the main contractor will have to manage all the subcontractors. As far as the employer is concerned, everything is to be referred to the main contractors, as the building contract is between the employer and the main contractors. In the case any of the subcontractors cannot perform, it will be under the responsibility of this main contractor. Any problem between the subcontractors and the main contractors, it will have to be resolved between the two contractors. Normally, under the traditional types of construction project, the architect will be the contract administrator. The architect will ensure that all the work it will be done in accordance to what is stated in the contract. Failure to comply the contract will lead to implications to the party who is responsible for it. Engineers will give the technical advice and supervisions to the construction works done by the main contractors as well as the subcontractors. And the quantity surveyor will deal with the claim in terms of the materials as well as the work done by the contractors. All the parties need to work together in order to ensure the success of the traditional construction project. Now let us look at the design and build project. This kind of project is slightly different from the traditional project. Instead of having 3 stages, it only involves 2 stages. In the first stage, the employer will select a contractor with the design and construction's capacities to undertake the project. This kind of contractors is different from this kind of contractors. This is because the design and build contractors is able to do the design and also build the structures, providing entire service to the employer. This is different from the conventional type of constructions where the design is done by the architects and the engineers, which in this case, most likely this kind of contractors have the architects and engineers for themselves. As a result, the employer do not need to appoint professionals to carry out the work. It comes together with the design and build contractor. Upon completion of the design, the contractor will need to make necessary arrangements in order to ensure the works are carried out in accordance to the design. As far as the employer is concerned, it is between the employer and the design and build contractor. That means upon awarding this design and build contractor, the employer and the contractor will have to come to an agreement. What are the needs of the employer? What are to be delivered to the employer? It is so that the design and build contractor can satisfy the requirement given by the employer. And it is normally the design and constructions are happening together as provided by the contractor himself for the construction stage. Now that you know the differences between the traditionals and the design and build project, Let us look into another one on the turnkey project. You know that the design and build project is that the same firm will do both designing and building of the project. In terms of the operations, for the design and build project, the employer has complete control over the building project, including schedules, contractors, and budget. That means now the employer is actually involved actively in this kind of project. Employer has the ownerships over the project, having the powers to control the progress as well as the quality and expectations as required from the design and build contractors. There is an disadvantage over this. It is especially when the employer is unfamiliar with the constructions, which in this case, normally the employers are quite unfamiliar with the construction. If they are very familiar with those, they can do it on their own. Of course, sometimes there are cases where the employer itself has this capacity to manage the project. Let's say now the employer is unfamiliar with the constructions. This can lead to a lot of problems, particularly in terms of the coordinations, and this often takes longer time and it may run over the budget. This is the limitations of the design and build contract. Now this turnkey project, it will be as if taking away some responsibility of the employer from the design and build project. In return, a higher level of certainty is assured, especially in terms of the efficiency of managing a project from the perspective of scheduling as well as the budget allocations. Now this turnkey project is where the construction company provide also the project management services, ensuring the entire project is managed properly in accordance to the schedule within the allowable budget range. At the same time, the employer can still control what he wants and how he wants it to be done, which the professional management services is also provided by the construction company. That means if we look into the structures of the turnkey project, it is now also with the employer and the contractor. Now the contractor have an additional responsibility. Other than design and build, the contractor will also need to provide service on the project management. This will ensure the project is completed on time, under budget, and as per the specifications.